Hey MennoNerds, Ebony here. So today I'm going to try to attempt to have two conversations, one about kids and the other about Milwaukee. And my thoughts are really jumbled. I'm not quite sure how this is going to work out. So I'm going to start talking and hopefully find some synergy somewhere in the middle of my mess. So for those of you who do not know, I am from the good old mill of Wisconsin, born and bred, born in 1983. Moved out of Milwaukee in 2001. For me, there's so many reasons why I decided to move. One, I wanted to go to college. I felt the overwhelming need to get away. I didn't want to get stuck in Milwaukee. I didn't want to become a stereotype. I wanted to make something of myself, and for whatever that means. Um, as I looked around, I didn't see a whole lot of opportunity, and so when the opportunity came for me to leave to go to college, I went. Not with scholarships. I took out loans, which I'm still paying for. I'm still trying to convince myself that it was a great debt to get involved in. And for the most part, I think it is. But needless to say, going to school and getting in debt was my way of getting out of Milwaukee. I grew up in a really bad neighborhood, really bad part of town on 37th and Lisbon. For those of you who are familiar with the region there, our house was caught in a lot of crossfire. If you want to say, put it friendly, crossfire, that sounds more friendly than being shot up. That was just the reality that I endured as a kid. When I was in ninth grade, our family moved to a slightly better part of the town where that wasn't our constant reality. Um, when I was a kid, I didn't understand what was going on. All I knew is that it was really violent, that there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities, and that I wanted to get out of the city. It wasn't until I came to Minnesota and started going to school here, studying theology, and then having a better understanding of structural racism and justice that I began to understand the reasons why Milwaukee is the way that it is. It has decades, if not centuries long, history of discrimination and disfranchisement of African American people. One case in point, in the 1960s, 70s, I believe, my grandmother's home, so the home that my mother grew up in, was bought and sold and torn down so that the city could build a freeway. It happened to many other homes in that area. That home was wiped out, families' wealth wiped out, but not just our family, so many other families. There are very few people that from that original neighborhood that are still live in proximity to it. They didn't end up building a freeway, but the fact remains is that a lot of wealth and income was devastated as a result of those policies and decisions. That's just one example. There's so many more. So, old working class city that hasn't really done a whole lot to pour new investments and build new infrastructure back into the urban core, in part because of the horrible governor. Sorry. But the other piece is I think that Milwaukee is a throwaway for Black people, and it has been for a very long time because it's easy to plan and do things without including Black folks. That's just the history of our country. And so I say all that to say, to give a little bit of context to what happened over the last week in the Milwaukee uprisings after another Black man was tragically shot and killed by a police officer. And after that, the residents in the city getting ticked and basically turning the city upside down. And I feel like in the news cycle, we've heard more stories about this uprising and the protests and the violent reaction of young people who are frustrated and who are just discouraged to see the reality that they have to endure living in a city that is so blatantly racist, than the news coverage about this man that was shot and killed. And one of the things that I'm still connected to quite a few people back home, but one of the things that I have also been seeing is this call for unity and peace, this call to straighten out the city's youth who are being violent and acting all these crazy ways and burning down stores and jet beauty salons and all these other things. I feel like that type of call is misplaced. And I've said this before. I think as a church, when we talk about reconciliation, we're really just trying to say that we're conflict averse and we want peace without justice. And so we end up blaming kids, we end up blaming youth for not being outstanding citizens. We've never given them a pathway to aspire to be a part of. It's late in the game to say that our youth of today, our children of today, are um, almost, how do you want to say, that they're lost when adults haven't done their job in investing in teaching and mentoring, but also when the infrastructure isn't there to give youth hope, to help them aspire to be something more than what is their current daily live reality. Milwaukee is one of the worst places for Black people to live. It has nothing to do with youth. Youth didn't create those problems. Children didn't create those problems. Those problems were created by decades old policy decision makings that need to be addressed to really get at the root of the uprisings that are occurring there. If we don't, and we play nice and we try to do peace and reconciliation efforts and get the youth in line, to do what? When there's nothing to get in line to do. There aren't any jobs, there aren't educational opportunities, there aren't pathways to success. So what are we training the youth to do? To fall in line, to say yes, massa, this massa, to do what is being asked of them to do, um, with no promise of return. I'll keep my comments there. Thank you.